Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show, Living Well with Dr. Sheila. I am your host, Sheila Craig Whiteman. I have a doctorate in physical therapy. I actually love doing this show because my goal is for each one of you to learn how to live your best life. So all of our guests, they might have mental, physical, spiritual suggestions, but they're all with the same intent, living your best life. This show is shown on KP through KP Media TV on the SCW Channel, and we can be seen on a few actually networks, but to name a few, Amazon Fire, Google TV, and also Roku. If you like to listen, you can listen on iTunes, and you can also listen through Chromecast. So let's greet our guest for today. Our guest is Cyndal Wallace, and I'm going to give you a little bit about her bio, and then we're going to just jump right into our conversation. So she is a heart-centered hypnotherapist, a life coach, and the owner of Blooming Lotus Hypnosis, where she works with women to overcome guilt and find food freedom. Cyndal offers a unique blend of result-driven hypnotherapy, coaching, and mindfulness techniques to help clients obtain their mental and physical goals. So welcome so much, Cyndal. And I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
It's actually Cyndal, but that's okay though.
Cyndal. Oh, yes. see? Good thing I asked, Cyndal. That's brilliant. That's really
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today. I am really excited to talk about this topic.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure, so thank you.
You're quite welcome. So let's jump right in. And can you talk about first, what is hypnosis?
Yes, this is a really great question because there's so many misperceptions surrounding hypnosis because of Hollywood and stage shows. So it's a really big part of my job to dispel some of those myths of what hypnosis is. So first thing to mention is that hypnosis is a natural state of mind. All of us have experienced hypnosis many times throughout our lives. And really what all hypnosis is a heightened state of focus and suggestibility. So some normal examples of hypnosis is like when we're reading a really good book and the time just flies on by and we've been lost in it for hours, but it only maybe feels like 30 minutes to an hour. Another really great example too, and we also go into hypnosis as we fall asleep at night and the very first thing in the morning because we're in a suggestible state during that time. Another example of hypnosis is like when we're watching your favorite TV show and like our characters, they finally get together and they're finally going to get married or whatever. We're so happy and so full of gratitude for them, and it's like we're almost getting emotional over these fictional characters on a flat screen. And so hypnosis is really going to be whenever we are so focused on something and we become completely like engrossed in it, just completely in it. So those are going to be some examples of hypnosis. So it's a very natural and normal state of mind that we all experience throughout our lives. So Sheila, I'm sure that you have already experienced hypnosis thousands, if not hundreds of times throughout your life. And
No, I was going to say, actually, I have actually had hypnosis. Yeah, I've had it through two different hypnotists, actually.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so it's something that you're also very familiar and comfortable with it too.
Yeah.
Oh, great. And another way to explain hypnosis, it's a state of mind. So hypnosis is not a feeling. It's a state of mind, and more so like scientifically, it's when we are in the theta state or the alpha state. And so this is when our brain waves are going more relaxed and more into a slow state, such as like being able to like daydream or maybe getting into a deep meditation. And so one of the points of hypnosis is to relax the conscious mind because the conscious mind is very limited in a lot of ways. And so when we get access to the subconscious, this is where all of our memories, habits, and belief systems reside. And this is how we can begin to change the way that we feel about ourselves and about the world around us. So that's really in a nutshell what hypnosis is.
That was a really good explanation too. It was really
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then, how did you become a hypnotherapist?
Yeah. So honestly, hypnosis just kind of fell into my lap. Ever since I was in middle school, I wanted to become an art therapist for kids. I'm an artist. And so when I was a kid, I wanted to help kids. And so I actually held on to that dream for many years. I've even went to college for it. So I've taken many years of psychology, sociology, anthropology, and philosophy and classes of that nature. And then after that, I was taking a life coaching course. So it's a 2-year certification to become a certified life coach. And one day I was on YouTube and I found this video chatting with a hypnotherapist. And I was like, that's interesting. And so I clicked on it and I watched it, and everything that he was saying, it just resonated with me so much to the core. Um, and so from there, I was like, I need to do more research on this. And so that really led me down the rabbit hole. And it felt home to me. So I did all the research, and I found one of the best schools in the Pacific Northwest, Cascade Hypnosis Center in Bellingham, Washington. And I got my partner and we both got accepted into her program. Before we knew it, we were going off to Bellingham to become certified, started our internship, and then we started seeing clients right away. So we've been in practice now for going on 3 years, and since then we've been able to help hundreds of people within our community.
Wow. So, how long does it take to become a hypnotist? How long does that take?
So our internship was 3 months, and so before we actually went to class, it was we had multiple books that we needed to read. We had to write like little essays. We had to take tests. We had to watch all these different videos. And so it was from January until March. And so we got a lot of the groundwork and the basics done before we got to class. And then when we got to class, it was 100 hours of in-person experience. So by the time that we were done, we had all the experience necessary, but this is really just the beginning. So I'm part of the National Guild of Hypnotists. And so we always have to get a certain amount of hours in. We have to do at least like 30 to 50 hours a year to make sure that we're staying up to date on the most advanced techniques so that we're able to serve our clients to the best of our needs. So we're always learning.
Right. Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So the 100 hours, so it takes 3 months, it's in person. So you go to class every day?
So, right. So the first 2 months, it's not in person. So the first 2 months, you're watching videos, you're reading books, you're writing up, doing homework, basically. And so you do that for the first 2 months to really get the groundwork done. And so by the time that you go there in person, you're able to just really focus on the hands-on experience and get that one-on-one experience. So that was 100 hours of really hands-on. So by the time that I left there, I was probably hypnotized at least 100 times, and I did it to other people at least 100 times. It was
Wow.
nonstop. Erica Flint, she has an amazing
Oh,
program.
Erica, yes.
She's a
Mhm.
great teacher. So that's who I got my certification from, and she's done it very, very well. And currently now, I think she's doing a hybrid. So now I think she's doing in person, but also on Zoom, online as well too.
Wow. So interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah, because I've had, I just said I have had hypnosis, but I never knew how a person learned to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's different for different people. It's actually fairly easy to get certified in hypnosis. So that's why when someone is seeking out their hypnotherapist, that is so important to do the research on them. Because some states, such as Idaho, you don't have to be part of a guild. You don't have to be part of any organization. You can literally just go online and take like a $20 course and say that you're certified. I know, and say that you're certified. And so it's really important to make sure that when you are choosing to work with someone, that they have all the accreditation, that they are with a guild or they're with an association, because that's going to hold them ethically responsible. So then if anything happens, they're able to go to someone else, to take the right steps.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, just doing your research on the hypnotherapist and making sure that you resonate with them, that you have a connection with them, and not being afraid of asking those questions as a client to make sure that this is going to be the right fit for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so glad that we actually touched on that.
Yes.
And because that fact actually, or that comment is true in so many professions,
Yeah.
that you can say you're at anything really, and you can get certifications, and I put that in quotes, for a lot of different professions, and not have the experience or the knowledge or ability to perform that. And I see that too. You see it across the board. You see it even in physical therapy. Now everybody goes to physical therapy school. Yes, they're physical therapists, but we all specialize in different things. So if you have, a particular problem and you need something that has a specialty, then you really have to go to the person who has studied that particular specialty. So I understand perfectly what you're talking about, perfectly. So
I definitely agree with that,
yeah.
and oftentimes, one second, please. Put my phone on silent.
Oh, that's what I was doing when you were talking before. I was turning off all my phones and iPads because it dinged, and I was like, "Oh, let me just."
Usually, my phone is always on silent, so that was interesting. It was not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, please remind me what I was just saying, if you don't mind.
We were talking about finding the right person with the right credentials.
Yeah.
You were getting ready to say a comment about that, because I made a comment about physical therapy and how you need somebody with
the
the
niche.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. It is
You're
so
welcome.
important to find, especially, if you're having a really serious issue, which most of our clients do. It's really important to find the right hypnotherapist and the right therapist that's going to be that has the knowledge, that has the experience, that's really going to be able to take care of your needs. And oftentimes in our profession, other professions too, we think that, we'll be able to do all of these different things and we'll be able to help more people. And then it's like 10% here, 20% there, and really honing in and just becoming a master at that one thing. And so then you're able to give your clients 100%. So I definitely agree that for anyone listening, finding a professional that specializes in whatever issue or obstacle that you're wanting to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're going to really talk a little bit about your niche.
Yes.
Before we get to that, though, because you had sent me this question, and it's just an interesting, cute question to me. So can you give us a fun fact about your childhood?
Yes, I actually grew up on an elk ranch.
Oh.
Back in the 90s. It's actually the United States' largest elk ranch. So I know, right? I had my own pet elk named Pocahontas.
That is an interesting fact.
It is. And so I grew up in Montana, lived there from 1990 up until 2001. And so I lived on the elk ranch for about 11 years until I moved to Idaho in 2001, 2002.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you loved it?
Yes. I love animals. I'm a huge animal nerd. I love all the animals. And so I really grew up just being around animals. I mean, I would bottle feed elk. We had cows, we had chickens, we had peacocks, we had even buffalo, bison.
Really?
Yes, we had we really had thousands of elk as well too. We've had ducks. We've had dogs and cats, and so I really grew up as like a little Ace Ventura in a way.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I'm very, very passionate about taking care of animals and doing my best to be a voice for them. Even yesterday, so it's like over here in Washington, it's been over 100 degrees for us, and that is so unusual. And there's actually been this turkey that's been coming to our office, sitting in the grass in the shade. And I've seen this turkey 3 times in this last week. And yesterday I saw the turkey there. It was like 108 degrees. The turkey just looks really, really high. I'm like, I'm going to make a really big mistake, but I'm going to go try. And so I went up and I got like a little cup of water, and I went over and I put the water kind of like maybe like 5 feet away from the turkey. I'm like, please don't attack me. This is for you.
Right.
And so I don't know if the turkey ever got it, but just doing our best to take care of them. So I love animals.
Yeah. I didn't know there was any such thing as an elk farm. I mean, I really didn't. I don't even know what you do with elk. I mean,
I was unaware of it at this time, because I was young and naive and innocent. But hunters would come, and they would hunt the elk, and for like elk meat and things like that.
On the farm?
So like my dad had a really large property with a beautiful lodge cabin, and so people from all around the world would come stay at this lodge cabin, and they would hunt these elk. And they have like the elk were just really big, and they had like lots of, I don't know, stags or whatever they're called. And so it was kind of like trophy hunting, but then also too, which is really broke my heart when I found out. But then also too, my dad would donate like any leftover meat to, because we grew up in Darby, which Darby is kind of more of a like a lower income city or town in Montana. So my dad would donate elk meat to families that were in need, and so so that's what I was all about, really. But I didn't even know about that until I got older. For me, it was just like I have all these wonderful friends.
Well, so many of us, this is just an aside, but so many of us, of the children, you don't know a lot about your parents until you get older. you just really don't. You just see them as X, and there's so much deepness and so much more to their life that we actually don't have to know, because it's not our business. We're just their children. But
It's true.
Yeah. So but okay, well so let's we're gonna get back. So what motivated you? Because first of all, I'll say that you wrote a book.
Yes.
Before I even ask this question. And you can tell us a little bit about the book, but tell us what motivated you to write this book. And your book is about emotional eating, because that actually is your niche.
Yes.
So talk about, after this question, we're going to get a little bit more into that discussion. But tell us a little bit about your book, and then what motivated you to write it.
Okay. So my book is called The Solution to Emotional Eating. And I really was drawn to write this book for my own personal experience. I've always had a weird relationship with food. I've struggled with my weight since I've been very, very young. I had personal trainers since from the age of like 10 all the way up to 19. I was on almost every diet you can imagine. I was sent off to weight loss camp twice in my teens. And so I that really had me develop a really weird relationship with food. And so that's something that I personally have struggled with throughout my entire life. Then when I became a hypnotherapist, I started to work with these clients, and I really wanted to come up with a tool, an extra tool that people are going to be able to get to use and to implement in their life. That's very holistic. It's about intuitive eating, a lot of mindfulness. I also teach different hypnosis techniques as well too, that these individuals are able to start incorporating into their lives. So I really wanted to just have a tool that I can give to my clients and also other people that might be going through this very similar struggle, to so they can start to overcome their emotional eating that doesn't involve any diets or or restricting yourself or anything along those lines.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, so how do emotions though affect our eating?
That's a really good question. So we all emotionally eat to a point, right? And so emotionally eating isn't always negative. Maybe we emotionally eat when we celebrate for like a birthday or a celebration or like a baby shower.
Mhm.
Um, then we can also find ourselves emotionally eating when we are upset. And even sometimes when we are upset, it can be consciously or unconscious for why we're feeling this way anyways. And so then what begins to happen is that the limbic system part of our brain just wants us to feel better. And so food is an easy way to make us feel better, especially if it's filled full of high in sugar, high in salt, and high in fat. Our brain loves that combination. And food, we go to food because it works. It does make us feel better. But the thing with that is that there's a dopamine rush and it's only short term. So after that dopamine wears off, you're back to feeling that emotion. And then we end up getting into this feel bad, distract cycle. I feel bad, so we eat. I feel better for a minute, and then I distract myself again. And this is constant cycle. Then eventually that feel bad turns to frustration, which could eventually even lead to depression. And when I say depression, I'm not talking about like chemically imbalanced depression. I mean like a normal depression that most of us experience at some point in our life. And another thing too about when we emotionally eat, um, a lot of us have food guilt, and food guilt is something that's learned. Really, all guilt is learned, because we learn that from our parents or we learn that from those around us. Because when we're younger, and if we do something, we don't know that it's wrong, right? And so then we will have like a parent tell us it's wrong. Maybe they shame us, not even really on purpose. And so then we start to develop this kind of like, oh, I did something bad. I feel guilty for it. And guilt isn't necessarily a bad feeling either. All feelings are good. Guilt's there to let you know that, I have done something wrong to myself or to someone that I care about. And that feeling is there to motivate you to take action, to make it fair, make it right. Um, but food guilt, though, we learn food guilt from, again, maybe our parents, maybe those that took care of us, maybe it's from diet culture, maybe it's even our friends. And so then when we were young and even growing up, we start to like look at these foods, be like, I can't eat that cookie because that cookie is part of the forbidden foods, right? And so then when we do end up eating the cookie, there's a hidden ingredient that's in those foods called guilty residue. So then we eat it and then we feel guilty for it. And so what I like to work with women on is overcoming the food guilt, because that's such a big deal when people are trying to like stick with the diets or they're trying to just overcome the emotional eating. They have all these forbidden foods that they can't eat, and they end up eating it, and then they feel bad for it.
How would one know that they are emotionally eating?
This is a really, really good question too. So, and there's more that meets the eye to this. So emotional hunger, this takes time. This takes practice to be able to start to learn this. So the tricky thing is that emotional hunger can be joined with physical hunger. So something that I do and that I teach my clients, I actually did learn this from Erica Flint. because she's also a weight loss hypnotist herself. And so whenever I am looking for food and I have the fridge open and I'm just scanning the fridge, seeing what sounds good, I take a pause for a moment and I ask myself, would I eat broccoli? Or maybe your equivalent to a food that you're only going to eat if you're actually hungry. So for some people, maybe it's zucchini. Some people, maybe it's a salad. And so then when you ask yourself that question, would I eat broccoli? If the answer is yes, that means that you are probably hungry and you can go eat something healthy. If the answer is no, I would not eat broccoli, that probably means that you are feeling an emotion or that there's something else going on. And when something else is going on, then at that point, it's like, I'm going to approach this with curiosity. And what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? And then empowering yourself to go do a satisfying response, empowering yourself to go deal with that emotion instead of emotionally eating. Another way to know if you are emotionally eating is that if you are feeling very stressed out and you're feeling really, really maybe angry, or you're feeling whatever extreme feeling it is, and then you find yourself eating fast and just not really being present to the moment. So those are some ways to know if you're emotionally eating. But a really big part of emotionally eating, I think the key for me and what I teach my clients is awareness. Being aware of, am I emotionally eating or am I eating out of hunger? And so awareness is just a big key for everything in life, really.
Right. So, and you mentioned, you mentioned going to the refrigerator, and picking whether or not, I guess really whether or not you would eat something healthy as opposed to something that is not so healthy.
Yeah.
So that being the case though, is this a diet change? You have to do a diet change for this, or is this just awareness of whatever you do regularly eat, the healthier version of that?
Yeah, yeah. So you don't have to be on a diet. I actually don't even really suggest diets. Diets are restrictive and they really only work short term. They're not a long term goal. They're more of a short term goal. And it's important to have a lifestyle change, and going going back to that, like you have the fridge open and you're scanning all the food and nothing is really sounding good, and pausing and asking yourself, would I eat broccoli, right? And so I don't know many people that will binge eat on broccoli, right? I love broccoli. I love broccoli.
Roasted broccoli is the best. To me, it's like candy. My family doesn't understand it because I'm
Oh,
like,
I
oh,
love
this is so
broccoli.
good. This is like candy. And they're like, yeah, okay, yeah. Can you pass
See,
me something else, please? So,
it sounds like that we are a rare exception then.
right.
It's not very common. Most people, when they are going to be emotionally eating, they're going to be going to like the high in sugar, the high in salts, and the high in fats, those kind of foods, because those are the foods that are going to release the dopamine, our favorite foods, whatever it is. It's going to release the dopamine and it's going to help us feel better short term. And so it's really not about a diet, and it really is going to depend on a person's goals. Is their goal to stop eating sugar? Is their goal to lose weight? Is their goal just to be able to relax around food? Is their goal, being able to go to like a baby shower and actually be present in the moment, not constantly be thinking about food? So it really is going to depend on a person's goal. But really asking that question, would I eat broccoli or would I eat your version of broccoli, is going to help us know that, okay, maybe I am actually hungry, or no, I think I'm craving chips, or I'm craving ice cream, or I'm craving chocolate. That most likely means that your brain is craving that dopamine, and it wants to feel better. And, you know, our brain really doesn't want those sweets and those treats. It just wants to feel better. That's really just all it wants.
And you kind of answered this question, but but I'll ask it just to make the answer succinct. Are there different types of hunger?
Yes, yes. So there's multiple different types of hunger, and again, there's a lot more to hunger than what meets the eye. So there's physical hunger. So physical hunger means that your body has given you the signal that it's time to eat. And when we are experiencing physical hunger, it's always good to eat within 30 minutes. And so then the likelihood of overeating or binge eating will greatly get decreased. So there's physical hunger when your body actually sends you the signal. It's time to get some food into your system. The next one is practical hunger. So this is like when it's just convenient to eat. So for an example, let's say that you're traveling, going on vacation, you're traveling, and you have like an 8 or a 9 hour flight ahead of you, and you don't want to eat the airplane's food. And so then you did make that choice that, okay, while I'm here, I'm going to eat like a sandwich, or I'm going to eat, a salad or something like that, even though you're really not hungry. It's just so then you find yourself not overeating or eating the foods that you really don't care to eat. So practical hunger is when it's convenient to eat. Another hunger is taste hunger. And so this is not so much emotional eating, but it's like you are craving a very specific type of food. So maybe it's like I'm craving pizza, or maybe it's that I'm craving whatever it is. So you're craving that texture and that taste. And then the last one that I include, again, there's more, but the one that I include is emotional hunger. And so again, emotional hunger is when we are eating out of emotions. Maybe we're celebrating, maybe we're experiencing another feeling, and we're trying to soothe our nervous system. And so those are the four primary types of hunger that I discuss, that I talk about.
And then how do you stop emotional eating? How can you do that?
Yeah, so I think a really big deal to stopping emotional eating, again, is awareness. Is fully being able to be aware of when you are emotional eating and when you're actually hungry. I mean, we've really become disconnected from our bodies. And so becoming aware of our emotions and realizing that all feelings are good, even some of the bad feelings, such as anger and sadness and guilt, they're there to motivate you to take action. The issue is that we don't understand what those feelings and those emotions are trying to motivate us to do, because we weren't born with the manual of like, oh, okay, so I'm feeling this way. Let's go ahead. Let's go do this. And so it's something that we learn throughout our life. And there's actually a really good book. It's actually mandatory reading for all of my clients, called The Secret Language of Feelings by Cal Banyan. Are you familiar with that book?
One of my hypnotists sent it to me.
Oh, all right. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great book that talks about the emotional wisdom and how all feelings are good. It talks about the feel bad distract cycle. So it is a wonderful book for anyone out there who is wanting to learn more about emotional wisdom. I highly suggest it. And so first step is becoming aware of our emotions. Then the next step is becoming aware of our triggers. So for an example, does someone feel triggered around certain people, where they feel like they eat more like around this person? Maybe it's someone at work, maybe it's a family member, or is it like a location trigger, like when you go. So like at my mail office, at my post office, it's right next to like a Papa John's pizza place. And so like every time I go in there to go drop off some mail, I'm like, oh, that pizza, right? So is it a
Right.
trigger like that? And so becoming aware and mindful of those triggers. And so then that way you're going to be more empowered to like, no, where am I on the hunger scale? Am I actually hungry right now? What kind of hunger is this? And so then you can just make that choice and really empower yourself to make a choice. And then also too, something else that I personally do is, before eating, just taking a pause. So maybe that's going to be taking a couple deep breaths. Maybe that's just going to be just taking a pause just to ask yourself, am I truly hungry right now? Is this what my body is asking for at this moment? And so becoming aware, becoming aware of your emotions, becoming aware of triggers, and just learning just to take a pause.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, you make it sound really easy.
It's true.
Yeah, you do. Why, um, in your clients or experience, why do you think people lack the ability or the willpower, though, to do this?
Yes, that is a really great question. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share a client story. So I had this client come in one day, and we were at this point, we were only working together for maybe like 2, 3 weeks. So she was still in the very beginning of her hypnosis journey. And one question I ask all of my clients is, what worked for you this week? And she was feeling kind of let down. And so she asked me a question. She's like, why do I just not have the willpower to say no to some of these foods? And what happened is that like her boyfriend brought home like some cupcakes, like 6 cupcakes or something like that. And she's trying to stop eating sugar. And so that was primarily her goal. And so her boyfriend brought home these 6 cupcakes, and she's telling herself, no, I don't want to eat those cupcakes. No, I don't want to eat those cupcakes. No cupcakes, no cupcakes. And then she actually ended up eating the cupcakes. She had 2 of them. And so she was really down on herself. And so then what we did is that we approached this with curiosity. And so first I asked her, um, I'll call her Sally. So, Sally, if this would have happened like a month ago, 2 months ago, how many of the cupcakes would you have had? She'd probably 4 or 6. And so, just the fact that she had 2 was, in my book, a huge win. And so then I started asking her questions, and I asked her, how often in your life do you tell yourself no to things? And she kind of thought about it for a minute, and she's like, not very often. And then I asked her, what happens when other people tell you, no, you can't have that, or no, you can't do that? She was like, well, that only makes me want to do even more. And in that moment, she had a light bulb go on. So what was happening is that she was telling herself, no, I don't want to eat this. And like this little inner rebel part of her was coming out. Maybe this like little inner child. It's like, yes, you do. You want to. And then she would end up eating them. But then there was something else going on too. So we were working on reframing and shifting our focus in the direction that we want to go. So Sheila, I want to do like a real quick fun exercise with you that I did with her.
Okay.
So I want you to follow my instructions to the best of your ability. Whatever you do, do not, and I mean whatever you do not think about a purple elephant. Don't think about a purple elephant. What are you thinking about?
Purple elephant.
Right?
Hmm.
So then what she was doing is, I don't want to eat those cupcakes. I don't want to eat the cupcakes. Literally all her brain is hearing is cupcakes, cupcakes, cupcakes. And that is just feeding into the craving. And so our brain does not understand negatives if it's in the middle of a sentence. So if we're like, I don't want to smoke that cigarette, I don't want to drink that alcohol, I don't want to eat that cupcake. that it's only feeding into the temptation, only feeding into the craving. And so what we want to do is learn how to reframe and focus on the direction we do want to go. So instead of saying that I don't want to eat that cupcake, you can then say, I make healthy food choices. I have free will, and today I choose to eat healthy food choices. I make the choice to eat foods that nourish me and give me energy. So then you're reminding yourself of your goal, and you're able to reframe that. So I think a lot of times when people feel like they're lacking like the willpower to be able to overcome emotional eating, it's that most of us don't always understand and know how our brain works. And so just learning some of these simple little mind hacks can make a really big difference to start to shift the dial on our side and making it easier for us to make that choice.
What so if there was one thing, because you did do an excellent explanation on what hypnosis is in the beginning.
Thank you.
If there was one thing that you would want people to know about it, what would it be?
That hypnosis works when everything else has failed. You know, hypnosis works when everything else has failed. There's so many times where my partner and I, we get clients that have done everything. They have gone, not putting down talk therapy. Talk therapy is amazing, but they've gone to years of talk therapy. They've done EMDR. They have done acupuncture. They've done Reiki. They've done all these different things, and it's not giving them the relief that they're looking for. So by the time they come to the neighborhood hypnotist, you know, they're feeling everything else is exhausted. And so they're kind of feeling hopeless. And so time and time and time again, our clients and other clients too, from other practices, they get results. And that's because hypnosis works differently. It works below conscious level thinking. So it works in the subconscious mind where our habits, our belief systems, and our memories reside. And like I was sharing with you earlier, when we can begin to change our belief systems and change the things that are deeply rooted within our mind, it starts to have an outside influence all around us.
So the second part of that question then is, what misconceptions about hypnosis would you like to? Yes, would you like to talk about?
This is a really big part of my job. So some misperceptions is that hypnosis is not sleep. You fall asleep, you'll miss the entire thing. We don't want that to happen. We want you to remember the insights and the clarity and those aha moments. And so then you're able to integrate those into your life and to make the long-lasting changes that you're wanting. Also, too, hypnosis is not mind control.
Yes, a lot of people, yeah.
Right? You mean, and we see like Hollywood, we see like the stage shows and things of that nature. And so, again, sometimes because my partner Judge, he works with a lot of veterans, and so the veterans are always afraid like it's mind control, you know, and it's nothing like that. The client, the individual is in complete control the entire time. So if we ever gave a suggestion that they didn't like, they just want to accept it. And if we ever gave a suggestion that they really didn't like, they would probably emerge themselves and be like, excuse me, what did you just say? This never happened before. But the client's able to immerse themselves anytime that they want. They're able to move. They're even able to get up to go to the bathroom if they want. So they are in complete 100% control. Another thing too is that hypnosis is not a truth serum. And so a lot of people are afraid that they're going to like spill the beans and all their deepest, darkest secrets and all of that. And it's far from that. On the flip side though, we're also not mind readers. And so We don't know how to help. We don't know how to get you from point A to point B if you're not sharing with us, right? 'Cause we can't read minds. And then there's another one again that we see a lot with like veterans and is that only weak minds can be hypnotized. And yeah, and so that's actually really far from the truth. So you really only need three things to be able to use hypnotherapy for your benefit: have a need or a want, be able and willing to follow instructions, and to be able to focus. And so the better focus someone has, the deeper and faster into hypnosis they're going to go, more susceptible that they'll be able to be, and therefore they're going to get better results. They're going to get longer, more stronger results. And well, versus someone who has a really difficult time focusing, maybe it's just going to take a little bit more work for them. And so usually the stronger the mind, better the results. And so that's another misperception out there that only weak minds can be hypnotized, and that can't be. That's pretty far from the truth.
So why should people use hypnosis to stop emotional eating?
Yes. So the thing too is that a lot of the clients that I work with, they're so smart and they're so intelligent. They know how to lose weight. They know the healthy foods. They know all about calories. They know what foods to avoid. They understand all of that. And they feel so exhausted by the time they get to me. They're like, if I have all of this knowledge, why can't I do this long term? If I have all of this knowledge, why do I lose 100 pounds 3 times in my life? You know, why can't I stick with this long term? And so they feel exhausted from going on all the diets. They feel exhausted by feeling like they're letting themselves down. And so hypnosis, it works differently. So it works again below conscious level thinking. And so if we have belief systems in our subconscious mind that we have to have chocolate or ice cream at the end of the day in order to relax, it's going to be hard to change that belief system consciously. If we have this belief system that, you know, chocolate ice cream helps sadness, we can get to the root of it, and then we can begin to change the way we can change our belief systems. We can change the way that we feel about situations, and so we can also begin to learn the emotional wisdom. And when we can begin to learn the emotional wisdom, we can then begin to change how we respond. And so we can move from reacting out of habit, move into a thoughtful response. And also too, when we discover the roots that are deep within our mind, we can then understand it, we can heal it, and then we can love it.
Mm-hmm. Do you work only with women?
Mostly, I would say about 98% of my clients are women. I also do work with teens as well too. So I do work with boys, but for the most part, I work with women.
And the focus of your hypnosis is only emotional eating.
That is the bulk. So when I very first started out, I was actually working with a lot of women in regards to anxiety and overcoming anxiety.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an anxiety veteran myself. I've had anxiety since I've been a teen, so I really I understand it and I get it. And I started to make the shift from anxiety over to emotional eating. But a lot of times too, a lot of women who emotionally eat, they also have anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the things that I do are still very, very similar. But my primary practice is emotional eating and weight loss. And my partner, Judge Williams, he works with pain management and veterans and PTSD. So that's his primary. He's a veteran himself, so
Okay, yeah, I
he's
was going to say that's good. Wow, that's good. Yeah, wow. So, and let's get to your book. I do not want to run out of time before
okay.
we talk about that. So, in your book, The Solution to Emotional Eating, what can the reader expect?
Yes. So I wanted to take a different approach to my book than maybe other intuitive eating or emotional eating books out there. Because again, a lot of the women that have been looking for a solution, trying to get this figured out on themselves, like for long term, um, I just wanted to give a different approach. So in my book, I have 7 tangible steps that people are able to use. So first step is breathing. So teaching clients about mindful breathing that they can use to help calm down our nervous system, turn down anxiety, and to be able to take that pause, before emotion eating or before before doing anything really at all. Um, Breathing is one of the most unused tools that we all have in our toolbox. And it's really no one's fault. We're not taught how to breathe. And so when we can learn how to properly breathe, that point, it's a tool that we can use anytime, anywhere, any place. And it's been proven by science to help turn down our anxiety. It moves us out of like our amygdala, part of our brain, to the prefrontal cortex, so that it's easier for us to make healthier choices. The second step is mindfulness movement. And with mindfulness movement, I'm not talking about exercise. Because movement can help us break state. So movement can be walking out to the mailbox and back. It could be walking around the neighborhood. It could be doing some yoga. It can really be doing anything at all. And the trick is to help us get into a flow state. So I call it the hypnotic flow state. And the flow state is it's a place of being that you're just completely present in the moment. So for me, when I'm in the flow state, I'm doing yoga or I'm running. And so those are my flow states. But for other people, it might be playing basketball. It might be swimming. This one client actually, her and I were trying to come up with healthy distractors. So something that she can do to generate good feelings in the brain. So she's able to go do that instead of emotionally eat. And so I was giving her some suggestions and none of it was really sitting right with her. And so that's the homework that I gave to her that week, is to come up with a list of healthy distractors, preferably low energy to higher energy. So she came back that next week and she was excited. She's like, look what I got. And she got herself a hula hoop. So the hula hoop is her healthy distractor. And so that is something that she can do to get herself into that flow state. She have to focus at it. And it's something that really makes her feel better. So I talk a lot about mindfulness movement. My third step is I talk about social media cleanse. And a lot of us, we don't, still to this day, I mean, social media is not going to go anywhere. And when I talk about this, I'm not asking anyone to go live off the grid and totally get rid of social media forever. That's just really not realistic. But on average, adults spend anywhere from 6 to 8 hours on social media, and kids can spend anywhere from 9 to like 11 hours on social media. So those numbers are kind of staggering. And we don't really fully know all of the impact social media has on us. And so I talked a little bit about doing a social media cleanse and being more of a conscious consumer around social media, because it can trigger emotional eating, it can trigger body dysmorphia, it can trigger binge eating, and just pretty much disordered eating. And then I also start talking about, in the next chapter, mindfulness eating. So I talk about the different types of hunger that we discussed earlier. I also talk about the hunger scale. So the hunger scale and the fullness scale. So then that way we can start to be more in tune with our body. And then I also talk about thought stopping. So teaching you how to thought stop and teaching you how to reframe your thoughts. Kind of like what we did earlier with the purple elephant. And then after that, I talk about understanding the emotional wisdom. So I think it's important for emotional eating to understand what's driving it in the first place. So understanding our emotions and how to take action, what to do with them. And then my last one is gratitude, and I talk a little bit about the neuroscience behind gratitude and how having a practice of gratitude can really shift our mindset in so many ways.
Yeah, yeah. Gratitude is so important, so important.
It is.
I have your contact information up on the screen. So, and I believe you told me that if someone wants a copy of your book,
yep.
They can go to this site.
Yep, they can email me at thewellness@bloominglotushypnosis.com. So they can email me there for either a free copy of my book that will be available on July 30th. Also, too, I do free consultations as well. Just being able just to talk to people to see if this is going to be a good fit for them as well. You can also find us on Facebook, too, at Blooming Lotus Hypnosis. So for those who are on Facebook, you can follow us there, follow our journey there. And then we also have Instagram, which Instagram is blooming_lotus_hypnosis. And so those are going to be our social media places. And so you're also able to connect and find us there and ask us questions. My partner, Judge, and I, we're an open book. We're always happy to help.
That is wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think the listeners got so much information from this discussion. And also, because even certain members of the community are not comfortable with hypnosis, but this can answer a lot of questions that people have and maybe make them a little bit more comfortable in seeking help this way.
Yeah.
You know, there are many ways, of course, that you can find help, but hypnosis kind of cuts to the chase, you know, depending on how open you are.
Yep, how open you are, and also making sure you're finding the right hypnotherapist with the right accreditation. And I mean, that's such a big thing, such a big deal. Because, you know, I have worked with quite a few clients that have tried hypnosis in the past, and they just didn't get the help, the attention that they needed. And you know, honestly, hypnotizing someone is not really difficult. It's knowing what to do with someone when they're in that state of mind.
Right.
You know, so finding someone who is a master at what they do is so important.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. Again, we have all of her contact information here. And of course, if you want to get in contact with her, you can email her there to get a copy. Her book is coming out, to get a copy of her book. And I am going to say goodbye. You don't have to leave the studio if you don't wish, but I'm going to put you off screen for a second, just so I can close up for the listeners and viewers. And I will see you backstage in a minute.
Sounds good. Thank you again so much for having me on. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Appreciate your time.
For sure. So that was today's program. Thank you all so much for joining on Living Well with Dr. Sheila. Just a reminder, I also have programs. I have a book. I usually put my book information up here. If you are a person who is suffering from bladder leaks, remember you can go to 2p2.com and get a copy of my book. And you can also go there. That's my contact information. You can contact me if you have any questions or anything like that about bladder leaks, because I know we don't want to talk about them, but they are there. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you next